Okay, hey there, boys and girls. This is Lady Silver Vixen here. I'm going to be doing a two-part series on how to become Wiccan today, and this is really just a really quick remake of my old video, which I'm going to continue to leave up because I find that there's a lot of people who have been viewing it, and I don't want people to think that poof, it's just magically disappeared. So, anyways, one of the main things that come up is, well, how does an individual really become a Wiccan? Um, where do I start? What do I do? That whole little spiel. I'm going to break this down into two videos, and if they're a little shorter than 10 minutes, I'm sorry because I don't really have any way to actually time this. So anyway, I'm going to kick it right off. We're going to get right into it. The main thing that you really have to ask is, well, do I really want to become a Wiccan? Um, if the answer to this question is no, then you can continue to do some research on it. I personally recommend that you continue to do a little bit of research on it. But if the answer is yes, the next question you need to ask yourself is, well, what are my true intentions on this? Am I in it to do spells? Am I in it because I think, carrying a wand around with me is really cool? What is my true concept of magic? And what am I willing to look into, and what am I willing to learn? Um, Usually, within a year and a day, which is the standard length of practice, before one would actually initiate themselves, whether it be by themselves if they're solitary, or by the high priestess or high priest of a coven, or both, if they choose to go the coven route. Um, if you go into a coven, the high priestess and the high priest will give you reading material to look into. They'll give you websites and things of that nature, and they'll actually be teaching you one-on-one themselves. That's in most covens. That doesn't apply to all. Um, for solitary practitioners, it makes it a little harder on us because we don't actually have a whole lot of set things that we really need to be looking into. So most of the time, a solitary will go to another witch on the net, or they'll talk to another witch who's a friend of theirs, and they'll actually start finding out the information that they need to know. Some of those things that one needs to know really begins in understanding the origins of where Wicca came from. They need to know who Gerald Gardner is. They need to know about why some Christians believe that Wicca is a form of Satanism. Um, there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that. Definitely look into the history, understand the origins. That's always a good first step. Um, the second thing that a person who's coming into Wicca needs to understand is not only the Wiccan Rede, but the threefold law. The threefold law basically more or less what goes around comes around. It's a more detailed explanation of karma. The threefold law is whatever you send out comes back to you threefold, and this applies to positive or negative. The Wiccan Rede is, and it harm none, do what thou will. That's how you sum up the Wiccan Rede. Although it is a good thing to try to strive for it, it's not necessarily something that can actually be done all the time, because at some point or another you are going to end up either causing harm to yourself or to another person. But in that case, you need to understand that you need to take responsibility for your actions. You need to constantly be sitting there and thinking about, well, if I do this, what are the consequences of my actions, and what are the consequences of my inactions? If I'm sitting there and I'm watching somebody that's getting, beaten and abused, by sitting there and not acting, this individual is being harmed. But if I step into it, then I could possibly be harmed. So, I mean, you really have to bring in your own personal morals that you've been taught and really try to apply them to your life on a daily basis. Celebrating the Sabbats and Esbats, great thing to do. It really brings you closer to nature, and when you're really looking into what Yule is, what Samhain is, what Imbolc is, Austera, Beltane, Litha, anything like that, you really start picking up on how all these old traditions were actually incorporated into today's religions, and holidays that we see today, such as Christmas for Yule. Halloween obviously has stayed Samhain and hardly unchanged. Um, There's a lot of stuff. For Austera, there's Easter. Beltane, most of you know, is May Day. Litha is also known as the midsummer or the midsummer solstice. Things of that nature. You really start picking up on these things. One of the questions that you should have asked yourself in the very beginning is, well, what is magic to me, and what are my true intentions when it comes to using this? Now, not every Wiccan actually will use magic, and some of them have actually died, never casting a spell at all. Although I have to say that personally, I don't think that it's possible. The only reason is because my personal perspective on magic is that magic is energy that influences more energy to bring about a positive and creative change. The next thing you guys need to look into is understanding that the divine is everywhere. It's sacred. You can worship the divine through shrines. You can worship them through your altar. It doesn't matter. The divine is everywhere, and it really is whatever is personally sacred to you. Another thing, too, is understand what divinity is and what the divine is. Also, learn to hear and follow your own inner guidance. You are really your own highest authority. Nobody or nothing can tell you, what is perfectly right for you. Only you can do that. Like I said, accept responsibility for your actions, for your words, and for your thoughts. If you sit there and you run up to somebody and call them, a butt monkey, and then you get hit, you need to take responsibility for your insult to them in the first place, because you probably wouldn't have gotten hit if you had been polite to them. Also understand the moral codes that go along with it. There are 13 laws. Not every Wiccan abides by the 13 laws, because the 13 laws were created by a group of Wiccans from all corners of the United States. They got together, created this little council, created 13 basic laws that pretty much most people actually do adhere to. Most of them are common sense. So, not everybody abides to them, but the main thing that stays constant is, "And it harm none, do what thou will, unless in self-defense," which is the Wiccan Rede. Respect other people's choices. Just because a Christian is a Christian and they think that you're a devil worshiper, you need to respect their choice. Try to politely inform them that, their beliefs are a little misconstrued, but you have to, if they're not going to budge on their beliefs, don't try to push the issue. Honor Mother Earth. Mother Earth gives us everything that we have, and she can easily take it away from us. Spend time with whatever aspect of divinity speaks to you. Wicca actually does involve a rather intimate personal relationship with your source, and every relationship requires care. Develop a friendship with the divine by talking, listening, and sharing different aspects of yourself, and you need really no one and nothing else in order to create a close connection with what is sacred to you, whichever divinity you attune to. You literally are your own priest or priestess. Most importantly, know that in the end, everything you seek is really within yourself. And also, enjoy your life. Don't let anybody create some sort of negative field within you, and then you end up putting that out and influencing other people. You really want to enjoy life. If you smile at somebody, that person is more likely to smile back at you. So try to keep that in mind, guys. I'm going to bounce over into a part 2, so watch and wait for part 2.